So the idea is when you're trying to get to financial freedom, not to live a life of deprivation. It's about choices, and it's about identifying what it is that matters to you and really brings you joy and what you can do without and not miss. And I think if you're not paying attention, then it's easy to, well, just, I've got this money, let me spend it on all this stuff. And then you have maybe a bunch of things that sit around and don't really add value to your life when you could have enjoyed your life just as much. And even more so, I would argue, by taking that excess and putting that money aside and investing it so that A, you've got financial stability in case you lose your job or whatever else happens, and also that you're kind of building for your future. So you're enjoying your time now and your current self, but also planning for your future self. And I think that's the right approach, and it focusing on the things that you enjoy and spend on those. But then don't spend on the stuff that doesn't really matter to you.
I try to instill these values in my kids, and the younger your children can start, the better off you're going to set them up for their future. You look at it, let's say, as an adult would look at investing. There's always those charts, like if you put the same amount of money away into something, but you start 10 years later, the difference between starting 10 years earlier. So our job as parents is to teach our kids to do that as early as possible, and to really look at what matters, especially as your children are coming of age and getting onto, into their own world. It's like someone talked to me about the other day. I was talking to a young man. I say young man, he's 10, 15 years younger than I was. And he said, my wife and I want to do this together. They don't have any children, but she wants a very nice wedding. And it's like, what's a nice wedding? And he threw out a figure, $50,000 or something, and they were going to need to fund this wedding themselves. And obviously it's their life, right? But you have to give, if you're in this world, you have to give your opinion. And I'm not shy about giving people my opinion. And if you thought about that, for what they'd have to go through and sacrifice at a young age, putting themselves $50,000 in the hole, if they're self-funding for 3 hours that the guests don't care about, that it was $50,000. So little choices like that goes back to the discipline or just the fundamentals of understanding. If you do this, you lose this. You can do that at a very young age with children, to where you can kind of plant those seeds for them to say, right, like, I'll give you, you can get this now, or if you wait, you can get this later. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Don't be impulsive. All these little things that aren't necessarily money related, but can be related to the topic if you apply those principles. So I'm trying now with my daughter. So we're getting there. She's 5. So I'm working on getting her to understand these things and delayed gratification and not having things right now and the newest things. So, but she's 5 years old. It's a tough challenge.
Man, it's a challenge at any age, but I completely agree with you. The earlier you start, I think the better it is, because it's still going to be a challenge, but then you've already established some of those habits. So even though they might complain about it when they get to be teenagers, or she might still complain about it with things when she's 10, she also kind of knows what the answer and what the right thing is going to be. So I think it makes it easier. And at some point, so they're going to get out on their own, and they're going to make choices that you might think, that's not what we talked about, and I tried so hard to get them to understand. But I think what I think is also useful is if you've established those habits in your kids early on, and they've got a framework, and you've talked about money with them, then it's going to be easier for them to realize, oh, you know what? Now I've got this credit card debt and whatever. Like, oh, I get it now. This is what they were talking about. Yeah. Okay, how do I fix it? Well, they know how to fix it, because they learned that stuff growing up. They just have to then get back to that. So I think even if they go outside of the guardrails that you were hoping that they would keep for themselves, I think it'll be easier for them to get themselves back on track.
Yeah.
So it's still important.
You're right. And I also think you're doing your children a disservice if you don't try to teach them these things, and if you don't talk about money, because whether you're good or bad at it, or have a lot or a little, the principles are still the same for, smart spending and what kids should understand. So watch and learn, or whatever it is, right? Whatever your parenting moment is. Point is, the sooner the better. The earlier your child will understand that's what it's supposed to be like. And everything we learn as parents, we should want our kids to be better than we are. So why not give them those values early and give them the tools that they need to get there when it's their turn?